Hello everyone, I'm Alex Giampapa and I'm Italian. For that, I apologize. Welcome to the Actual News, the only show whose research team just drops acid and looks at Alex Gray paintings. Predictably this week, more and more news outlets are covering Joe Biden's sexual assault scandal with Tara Reade. The Democrats have finally decided to listen to her story and truly consider it. Just kidding, they're just doing that thing where they pretend anyone who doesn't do exactly what they say is Russian. There's been multiple corroborations of Tara's complaint, and also a video of Tara's mother calling into Larry King in 1993 to complain about the incident, so prominent Democrats have stated, "I support women and believe they have a right to be heard." That being said, not only is Tara Reade a whore, her brother confirming the story is a skank, and Larry King is a dirty slut who's jealous Biden's got that good dick with the ice cream drizzle. Biden supporters have pointed out that he did start the Violence Against Women Act, which he famously said should definitely cancel out that rape from 1993. Mike Pence was spotted not wearing a mask at the Mayo Clinic. He says he's built up an immunity from drinking angel cum, or its brand name, Christ Goo. COVID-19 deaths still have high rates in the US, most of them older, so if you're young and take care of yourself, you should be fine. But if you're over 50 and have eaten at Checkers, you're as good as dead. Gun stores are essential in Alabama, which I was gonna make fun of, but then I realized that the people I'd be making fun of have guns and I don't, so I can't make fun of them. So now I want a gun and can't get one because the gun stores are considered non-essential here. I should get a gun. Americans are really showing their true colors with how they're spending their stimulus money. Ronald Kearney of Texas decided to feed his entire neighborhood, while others have been caught stealing checks. I, on the other hand, have simply fallen behind on payments for my giant $6,000 gumball machine. But once those sweet quarters start rolling in, it's goodbye Amazon, hello Chew on Daddy's Balls Incorporated. Amazon's on strike, so the workers are asking people to try and find the strength to click the fourth link on their Google search. China's new social credit score system is creepy and apparently punishes you for spending recklessly, unlike here, a free country where you get punished for not spending recklessly and giving your money to large banks who have 30% interest loans on your credit card. Other examples of stuff that can mess up your credit score are eating on public transit, playing music, reading Catcher in the Rye in public, that's attention-seeking behavior, wearing sandals with jeans, illegally downloading a Kathy Griffin special, or legally downloading a Kathy Griffin special. High schoolers across the US are finding out that their classes will be held online. US high school bullies are suing their schools to reopen, citing that snitches cannot give themselves stitches. InfoWars host Alex Jones has come under fire for attending the You Can't Close America rally in Texas, where he stood in the vicinity of over 300 people and shook hands with dozens of supporters. That backs up what I've been saying this entire time: we need to do more COVID-19 testing. And I'm not talking about testing to see how many people have it, I'm talking about testing to see if it turns frogs gay. If I told you that the American political system is deliberately set up to divide people in order to prevent people from improving their lives in a fundamental way, I'm sure you'd be like, "Whoa, dude, I never looked at it that way," and then start contacting family members to check in on me. But I do think most people should know about what's commonly known as a duopoly. Most people have heard of a monopoly, which basically means the exclusive possession or control of something, and that in American business, it's illegal, because if Cheese Nips had a monopoly on cheese crackers, they'd be the only option, Cheez-Its would be illegal, and I would kill myself. Terrible cracker. An oligopoly means there's a few owners of something, and a duopoly means there's two. In this case, I'm talking about the two-party system, which also extends to our understanding of liberalism and conservatism. Many countries naturally end up having two dominant parties, but the United States has two very dominant parties that almost always win the election, and while they do want to beat each other, they also work together to protect certain things. Our civil liberties. Ha! No, it's corporate money. So much. See, some pretty smart people have figured out that if they organize a red team and a blue team and make both teams suck, nobody's going to think playing for any team is worth it at all. While they've taken many different forms over American history, the Republicans currently represent the conservatives and the Democrats currently represent the liberals. But what's weird is that there's also a lot of stuff that's conveniently not represented by either of them at all. For example, we've got this one party who says no to abortions, and this other party who says yes to abortions. Oh, and they both say yes to war. I don't know why you'd work so hard to keep people alive before birth to then immediately send them to their death 18 years after the fact, but I digress. Why isn't there one anti-war party? Why isn't there a pro-choice and no war as well as a pro-life and no war party? Where are the options? All we have are nips. We want its. Did you know that 86.4% of Americans feel that the military should only be used as a last resort? And we have 100% of possible candidates who have the opposite stance. Americans really can't stand the idea of paying taxes at all, but every time we're like, guess what? We're invading insert country full of brown people here. We built a new tank that can launch missiles. Everyone's like, how much will it be? I didn't know numbers went that high. Oh well, America, it sucks. Did you know that 69% of Americans want Medicare for all? Did you know that despite saying we can't pay for it, we totally can, it would be cheaper, and both parties just gave away trillions of dollars to do shit like save cruise lines instead? I'd take free healthcare over cruise lines existing any day. In fact, I feel like just ending cruise lines would be a form of healthcare in itself. It's not a super complicated technique. Our leaders divide people by making them argue over existential issues that you can never solve. Does life begin before or after conception? Should people be allowed to say whatever they want? If a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, would China release a statement saying that the tree is completely fine and everything's cool? These are real, emotional, human issues that completely change people's lives every day. So many people are very passionate about voting for the party that represents the right side of it. But again, why couldn't we collectively, as a people, just say no war, Medicare for all, deport Lena Dunham, and then let's talk about the complicated issues? In fact, you're more likely to live in a civilized place if everyone is taken care of to at least a certain degree. Politics get heated now, but hangry politics? That's why Thanksgiving has so much food. The turkey is there to stop your grandfather from sharing his opinion about AOC. Is he angry at her or horny? Either way, you'd probably rather not hear about it and get through this family bonding experience as painlessly as possible. That's what the holidays are all about. You'll still never stop me from carving Bernie would have won into the pie. And with the Democrats slapping away the wishes of a large chunk of America, a large chunk of that large chunk is now thinking third party might be the only way out. So what about third-party candidates? We don't talk about them much in the US. On the one hand, our system is woefully broken in a manner that deliberately consolidates power amongst an extremely homogenized conservative ruling class, but on the other hand, it's hard to remember more than two names. First up, it's former Minnesota governor and crypt keeper stunt double Jesse Ventura. Jesse's been a wildcard politician for years. He's anti-police state surveillance, pro-Second Amendment, against corporate influence on politics, is incredibly critical of the war on drugs, and while he doesn't personally believe in abortion, he does believe it should be kept legal for the purposes of civil liberty, an age-old concept many experts have criticized as boring. He's an interesting mix of red and blue policies that sound incredibly appealing to a lot of Americans. He's somewhere between the ass of the Republicans and where the Democrats' ballsack should be. Ideologically, he's a taint, and if you're not sure what that is, we ask that you do not look it up. Ventura's trying to get on the ballot for the Green Party, who still get the Democrats mad because of the 2000 election where they blamed Ralph Nader for stealing votes from Al Gore, even though Bush stole Florida from them, and also every politician who's ever run for anything has been trying to steal the election after that. Usually, Jesse would cut into Republican votes. If you're pro-Second Amendment, you could usually do that. But since Joe Biden is so conservative, Jesse Ventura looks like a progressive prophet, despite saying this.
Bunch of slack-jawed faggots around here. This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Just like me.
That's technically from the movie Predator, but we've confirmed he didn't know cameras were rolling at the time. Next up is Michigan representative and grown-up nerd from an 80s movie, Justin Amash. Amash is another one who's hard to characterize. He's technically pro-gay marriage as he doesn't believe government should be involved with marriage, which is the weakest way to support a civil right. It's like thinking black people shouldn't have been hosed in the 60s because you don't believe in a public water department. He loves criticizing Trump because he knows people get excited when politicians look like they're suddenly going to switch sides. Elizabeth Warren said killing Soleimani was poorly timed. Imperialist warhawk terrorist much. George Bush doesn't like Trump. Yeah, it's Queen. One more term. Just kidding. You're dead. He's also fiercely anti-abortion, so much so that he believes fetuses should be protected under the 14th Amendment, which guarantees citizenship for anyone born in the US. And what's amazing about this is the number of questions it raises about how it'll be implemented. Logistically, for it to work, it means all fetuses conceived on US soil would have to be protected, which means a citizenship question would have to be, where did your parents fuck? That's weirdly invasive. But we could have a list of every person ever conceived on a Carnival cruise, and they always turn out to be criminals. Dirty people. Amash is considering running as a libertarian, the party of the guy who asked, "What is Aleppo?" And tons of Americans were like, how does he not know that, as they Googled what Aleppo was. He's drawn attention in the media because he's spoken out against the GOP. His anti-Trump status has earned him that weird respect from people who like John McCain but not our current president. Like, you can bomb a country full of different looking people, but don't be rude about it. Or whatever. Democrats even like him because of the anti-Trump stuff, even though he sounds like he sneakily believes in consensual slavery. It's 2020. That kind of thing is only acceptable if it's sexual. An interesting development has been the liberal hysteria following these presidential announcements. You've probably heard a vote for a third party is a vote for Trump unless you've blocked anyone who lists Foghat as their favorite band. Boom! What's interesting is how little faith Democrats apparently have in their candidate. You're concerned about these two parties that run a bunch of insanely delusional narcissists who think they can be president? If only there was anyone the Democrats could run who's been popular. There's a fairly popular notion right now that third-party candidates only hurt Democrats, which is crazy. It would imply that the Democratic Party has no moral center. It's also untrue. In '92, Ross Perot ran the most successful third-party campaign of all time and pushed George Bush out to elect Clinton, and everyone lived happily ever after. But in 2020, anytime there's even mention of a third-party candidate, liberal blue-check people wearing pussy hats call Joe Biden the most electable, but also think he could be taken down by the campaign of a closeted cool dad and an unemployed scarecrow. We're 2 weeks away from, if you vote for zombie mecha Hitler, you're practically handing the election to Trump, which is absurd. As we all know, zombie mecha Hitler only pulls from Tom Cotton's base. So why is this issue where we feel stuck with two candidates uniquely American? Short answer is that most other democracies are parliamentary, which breeds stronger third parties. We're not going to do a parliament here though, it's gay. There are, however, some cities and states considering a new way to vote in order to solve the whole two-party thing. It's called ranked choice voting, which allows you to rank your candidates in order of preference. This starts a series of elimination rounds until one candidate is at least preferred by 50% of voters. Let's say Jesse Ventura is your favorite, perhaps because he fights a predator instead of being one, and Joe Biden is your second. If Jesse loses, your vote for him becomes a vote for Joe Biden. Ranked choice voting has only been used once in one state, Maine in 2018. The Republican got the most first-place votes in Maine's 2nd congressional district, but after the rankings were tallied, Democrat Jared Holden won the House seat. Guy looks like he'd bang your mom. Who wouldn't? Ranked voting will also be used in 2020 to determine Susan Collins' re-election. She's usually considered the most moderate Republican, which in 2020 is like being the most hygienic juggalo. Massachusetts will be one of the states voting on whether to have ranked choice in November. The campaign needs more petition signatures, but since going outside is now considered masochism, people are allowed to sign online. If you'd like to take 7 seconds to help establish ranked voting, here's a link. And that's all for tonight. Audit the Fed. Good night.
Oh, that was it?
Yep.